I asked the cuz to come in to try to help me with this because I'm not handling this well this morning, Anthony.
You shouldn't.
There's a lot of blame to go around, and we've assessed it. Jalen doesn't need to throw the ball up right there.
No.
And I know that he was being pressured on the play.
You still have timeouts.
Two timeouts.
Yeah. You still have timeouts, and all you need is 14 yards.
To get to a 60-yard field goal.
Right.
Which Jake Elliott makes rather routinely.
To get a shot. You know what's weird? It's like he gives up the game. He's done that before, where at the end of it, let me just throw it up and hope something happens. Instead of trying, you can't work the middle of the field, just 22 seconds. You have time to work the middle of the field. But again, it's the middle of the field, and we don't go near the middle of the field.
2 timeouts. I figured it out. I went back and watched it. The ball fell incomplete with 19 seconds left. Or it was intercepted with 19 seconds left. So he was getting pressured. The Eagles didn't handle that stunt well all night long where the defensive tackle was coming around. Lander Dickinson got beat on the play. He got hit as he threw it. That's an easy throw the ball away because you got to see the safety that's going to come up and jump in front of it, which he did. The ball would have been incomplete, but it's a dangerous throw. Devontae wasn't anywhere near it.
Oh, my God. It's a horrible throw. It's a horrible throw.
It's a chuck it up there. That's where you have to decide in your head, I'm throwing this out of bounds.
Yes.
Or you're throwing it on the ground incomplete where no one's getting to it.
Yes.
You have minimum. You have 3 shots. You have 3 shots, 2 timeouts. I mean, frankly, you should have a 40-yard field goal in that spot. They left the Eagles a ton of time.
Yeah, well, that's the most absurd thing. With no timeouts, they just go matriculate right down the field. Boom, 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 boom. Which, by the way, to me, I know there's the play call, and that deserves scrutiny. But to me, the biggest takeaway is it's the same defense. Yep. It's the passive defense, the bend but don't break defense. You got a quarterback who's coming off an Achilles injury, who is a statuesque, right? Who you got a quarterback that you got to pressure him. You got to do it. You D-line can't generate any pressure. You got to send a blitz. You can't sit there and just let him pick you apart. I don't understand it.
That's what the Eagles organization wants. For everybody that bitched about Jonathan Gannon and then who they hired last year,
it's the same thing.
It's Vic Fangio. They're all disciples. This is what they want to run.
Right. It's an analytic-friendly defense. It's always been that. They've always taught. They believe in this thing. Yep. It's organizational wide, which for the life of me, I don't understand. I don't understand it. And listen, there's parts of that defense that make sense.
It's smart,
people run it, right? We're not fans of it because we like more of an aggressive style defense. But you got to come out of the shell when you got a quarterback like Cousins.
But see, to your point, analytics is great, and the Eagles have used analytics. You can say better than any team in the NFL. They were first team doing it or whatever. But Kirk Cousins as a quarterback is different than some other quarterback where you get pressure on Kirk Cousins, he's going to throw the ball up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just going to throw the ball up. He's got nowhere to go. So to more or less just give up on trying to get to the pass rusher, and should they be able to get pressure from their front four? Yeah, they should, but they weren't.
But first of all, that's the truth of the matter is their D-line is no good. It's just not good. I mean, the difference when they won the Super Bowl running the same stuff is because they had Fletcher Cox, who was still a beast, BG, who was young and a beast, Chris Long, right? You had a D-line that was a force. They were great. This D-line's not good.
Nothing.
It's not good.
Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith through 2 games, 2 tackles, 1 quarterback carry, no sacks. Jalen Carter played 46 snaps last night, had 1 tackle.
Yeah, it was the one play he flashed.
The one play, yep, that you noticed.
He's got to do better.
Hey,
Jordan Davis is just lost.
No, he stinks.
Right. Huff is worthless.
He had no stats.
Yeah.
He literally didn't have a stat last night. Look at the box score.
Tackle, yeah.
Did he have that tackle? I looked this morning. They took it away from him.
Yeah.
It's not there. It's literally not there. Yeah, Jordan Davis, and so far in 2 games, they're giving up 6.5 yards a carry and 316 rushing yards. You draft a nose tackle in the top 13, so that doesn't happen because he's not getting to the quarterback.
You play a 50 front, right? So you want to play that 5-man front in rundowns, you play the 50, and he's not doing anything.
God,
He's not doing anything. It's
All right,
sad.
So I'm not one that's leading the show today talking about Sirianni for an hour, how much of a boob he is for throwing the ball on third down and everything else.
First of all, he had nothing to do with play calls.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, that's also true. And he said it after the game. But I think it's a debatable play. They actually said, we think that if we run it here, they're going to have 10 people and they're going to crash the middle. And
so here's my argument, right? Like, I don't think it's idiotic.
Right.
But I don't think the risk was worth the reward. I mean, in this case. And people go, well, look, they moved right down the field. But if they only have a minute to go, all right, instead of a minute 40, it's a different mindset, right? Because
Eagles play differently. They play differently.
The first play of that drive was a play across the middle of the field that took about 20 seconds. But it was a drive starter, right? It got them going because when you run a hurry-up offense, you need a drive starter, right? You need to, because then you could move, defense not set, the whole thing. You can't run that play with a minute to go because you're burning too much time. So you just got to play the percentages.
I agree with you. And Tyler and I were talking this morning. I would have ran the ball.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm not saying you're an idiot because listen, the play worked, right?
Saquon catches the ball, it's over.
He's the best back catching the ball out of the backfield. So
he dropped it.
I just don't like the risk in that situation. I don't think it's a death knell call. Like I don't think, oh my God, you're an idiot. My biggest gripe is with the defense and how the fact that Fangio, after watching his D line be anemic, right? Why didn't you dial up a pressure?
Yep. At least with Jonathan Gannon, he would find ways to be creative and get a fifth rusher, to get a fifth pass rusher. And I agree with you. They beat up on bad quarterbacks, but they at least were able to generate pressure, and their line was much better then. I mean, it feels like 10 years ago that these guys were playing, not 2 years ago.
The biggest disappointment, and I got to tell you, is the Philly Dogs.
The Philly Dogs.
And listen, I loved it, so I can't complain. I mean, Jalen Carter slips you a 10. I'm okay. Sign me up. Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis was a little sketchy because you were hoping that he would become an every down player, right? Not just situational guy. So he was a little bit debatable. But Jalen Carter, I'm all in. Nolan Smith, I got it. All right.
He slipped. Nolan Smith slipped. He just can't play. All right. I don't want to steal your thunder because I know you're coming up at 9:00 and you have a lot to say. I just wanted to one more thing on this defense. How does Thomas Booker, 9 snaps, have 3 tackles and 2? He did more in 9 snaps last night than the freaking entire defensive line has done all season long. Milton Williams had made an impact. He made an impact. The backup players are showing up in limited snaps, and these prolific first-round draft picks, and other guys too, giving you nothing. Josh Sweat, at least, you notice him once or twice a game. This Huff is a disaster.
Disaster. But I got news for you. That's not good enough for Josh Sweat.
No, it's not. But that's where we are with this line, that if a guy you notice a guy once or twice a game, it's like, well, at least he has a pressure this year.
I know.
Or a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Nah, and you can't. It's a shame because I like their secondary, like their corners.
Quinlan Mitchell's going to be really good.
You can see
really
it.
Good,
I like their corners.
Cooper DeJean, I don't.
Wow, it's early.
He's going to need a redshirt year, half the season.
Maybe. But I mean, I like their secondary. Unfortunately, you can't play with that line in front of you.
No, you can't.
And if you can't generate any sort of pressure, then you have to dial up a blitz, which is clearly not what Fangio is going to do.
Wide receiver depth, I was worried about going into the season. Only if you lose one of these 2 guys, now you have Britton Covey running routes. He doesn't want to throw to Dotson. I don't know if he's not getting open or what. I'll be interested to hear what Baldy has to say about everything.
I know. I got to tell you, the one thing about Jalen, I wish he would do more of, is when he scrambles, because he's quick to get out of the pocket.
And he looked good last night. He had the burst last night.
He did, but less running and more scrambling to look down the field, because there were guys that were open down the field.
Opportunities, yeah.
And that's something that it's great that he runs.
Right.
But that's not sustainable, man. We saw it last year. The minute you get popped and he's hurt, you have to just move to throw.
Here's the, and it's actually was what I was going to talk about the last segment here, is that you saw the burst last night. He kind of put the team on his back on a couple of those drives. But what happens, like you said, when he gets hit? He looks like he did last year. And if you don't develop and evolve as a quarterback throwing the football, you get what you got last year.
Right.
You can't survive. That's Lamar Jackson survival. Right? Jalen can't play like that. He needs to be like, you can pick and choose your spots. And last night he needed to do that right there. You can't play like that every game. You can't rely on that type of a play to win you a Super Bowl. You just can't.
No.
The great thing about 2022 with Jalen was he didn't depend on that. He was
their run game was so ridiculous.
So much better. Yeah,
but here's the problem, right? Their run game was so good that in the pass game, everybody was open.
Yep.
He had multiple, like the scheme was, then D coordinators caught up to it. And now it's
made the adjustment.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up at 9:00. Thank you.
Love you, buddy.
I needed this.
My man.
I brought it. This wasn't even a prop, that Coors Light right there.
Yeah.
I drank my coffee in about 3 seconds. And I forgot an energy drink. So I'm like, I need something right now. I need give me some alcohol. I didn't drink it, but I felt like I needed to drink this morning.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you want to drink after, I'm in.
All right.